Hello and welcome to the Let It Ride podcast, coming at you to preview Week 16 in the NFL. Can't believe we're already here, Week 16, the NFL regular season winding down to a close. Just 3 weeks left. 13 teams have already been eliminated from playoff contention, so the NFL playoff picture really starting to come into focus. In fact, after this week, we could know everybody that's going to be involved in the playoffs, save for the AFC North. I think it's pretty much uh, going to be that Week 18 game between the Ravens and the Steelers that decides that division. So if you're looking forward to what's going to be the season finale, that Week 18 Sunday Night Football game, I would say most likely it is going to in fact be the Ravens taking on the Steelers. But after this week, that really may be the only playoff spot left to be decided. Like I said, 13 teams have been eliminated from playoff contention. Once we're up to 18, that means we know who the 14 playoff participants are going to be. If the Eagles take care of business against the Commanders on Saturday, that would eliminate my Cowboys, pushing that number up to 14. If the Lions lose and a number of other things happen, the Lions could be eliminated. We could know the entire NFC playoff picture after this week. So everything really starting to come into shape. We really could be looking at a last couple of weeks of the regular season that really don't mean much. But as of now, these games are still big, and we're going to dive into a couple of them, starting with the Patriots taking on the Ravens. The Ravens, a 2.5-point favorite at home. The over-under sitting at 48.5. This game, oddly, doesn't really mean that much for the Patriots. They are right now holding a one-game lead on the Bills in the AFC East. So, conventional wisdom will look at that and say, oh, well, the Patriots lose and the Bills win this week, then the Bills are tied for the division lead. But the Patriots do have two divisional games to close out the season, so they don't really need this game against the Ravens. The Ravens, on the other hand, absolutely need this game. They have to win one of their last two games. They basically cannot enter Week 18 down 2 games to the Steelers, because right now the tiebreaker would be decided by who wins that Week 18 game between them and the Steelers. So as long as they stay within one game of the Steelers, they will be playing in Week 18 for the division. And that starts with getting this game here against the Patriots. I'm really kind of confused about what I saw from the Ravens last week. I watched the entirety of that game. It was the local broadcast here in the Maryland, D.C. area. And this offense, you look at it, it's like, okay, they scored 24 points. They shut out the Bengals. This offense played well. Lamar Jackson, 12.5 yards per pass attempt. Derrick Henry, 9.1 yards per carry. Oh, yeah, all that looks good. But they got outgained in that game. They got outsnapped in that game. They only had 36 snaps on offense to 68 for the Bengals. They lost time of possession 39-19 to 20-41. So almost 2-1 they lose the time of possession battle. Lamar Jackson only has one completion in the second half of that game. So the Ravens really just jumped out to this big lead and they just kind of ran away and hid. However, I was very, very impressed with this Baltimore Ravens defense. Like I said, shutting out a high-powered Bengals offense, holding Joe Burrow to just 5.8 yards per pass attempt, holding the Bengals as a team to 3.4 yards per carry. In fact, the Bengals rushed the ball 29 times in that game, never had a carry over 10 yards. So this Ravens defense really coming back, like getting back to what we expect the Ravens to be early in the season. This Ravens defense was not playing well. They were getting gouged by bad teams. Really feels like they're getting healthy and getting back on track. On the other side, this Patriots offense came out like gangbusters, jumped out to a huge 21-0 lead against the Bills. But then after that, really did nothing. If you look at their drives in the second half of that game, they had a 3-and-out, an interception, a one-play 65-yard touchdown by Henderson, another 3-and-out, a 4-and-out, and that was the end of the game. So this offense really did nothing in the second half of that game. I kind of feel like they use that adrenaline. They came out against the Bills and really used that adrenaline to jump out to that lead, and they just completely fell apart down the stretch. So I don't think this offense is as good as they showed, in that first 20 minutes there against the Bills. So I think this total set a little bit high. Like I said, I think this Ravens defense is getting back on track, and I think this Patriots offense might be a little bit overrated. And the Patriots defense is still really good. I know they give up a lot of points to the Bills, but they hold the Bills to just 349 yards of offense. That was the Bills' third lowest total for the season and their lowest total overall in a win this year. The one thing about the Patriots defense that you do worry about, I thought this number was fake when I looked it up. They give up touchdowns on 75% of their opponent's red zone trips. That is by far the worst in the NFL. Enter the Ravens, who are the second worst red zone offense in the NFL. So I think those two weaknesses are kind of cancel each other out, and I think you're going to see a lower scoring game here. So give me the under 48.5. Going to have two picks in this game. Also going to take the Ravens -2.5. Like I said, think they really need this game. The Patriots don't actually need this game. They're coming off of a hard-fought divisional game, going on the road. I think the Ravens take care of business here and set up that AFC North championship game in Week 18 against the Steelers. So, like I said, two picks from this game, taking the under 48.5 and the Ravens minus 2.5. That is going to move us on to the Vikings taking on the Giants. The Giants, a 3-point underdog at home. The over/under sitting at 43.5. Giants right now, holders of the number one pick in the NFL draft, just 2 wins on the season. However, those 2 wins against the Chargers and the Eagles, two playoff teams, they've held fourth quarter leads over playoff caliber teams in the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, the Broncos, and the Cowboys. They held leads in all of those games. They've beaten two other playoff teams. Last week, the Cowboys outgained the Vikings, and really, the Vikings only win that game thanks to the missed field goals from Brandon Aubrey. The Vikings go and the Cowboys going 2 for 12 on third down. The Cowboys were not able to get any pressure on J.J. McCarthy, and that was the main reason this Vikings offense went up and down the field on this Cowboys defense. Enter the Giants, who pressure the quarterback pretty well. In fact, if you look at the Vikings games against teams that are top 10 in pressure rate, like the Giants are. Against Seattle, they scored 0, but that was a Max Brosmer game, so I'm not going to really hold that one too much against them. They played Green Bay and scored 6 points. They played the Chargers and scored 10 points. They played the Browns and scored 21 points, played the Falcons and scored 6, played the Steelers and scored 21. So this team does not hold up against teams with a good pass rush. The Vikings, by the way, 1-5 in those games, just 10.6 points per game. So when they face a good pass rush, they kind of fold. And I think this Giants defense is going to be able to get after J.J. McCarthy in this one. We've seen a number of quarterbacks look really good against the Cowboys defense and then all of a sudden turn back into a pumpkin. Jacoby Brissett, Russell Wilson, to a lesser degree, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, both had their best games of their season against this Cowboys defense. So this Cowboys secondary really makes quarterbacks look better than they are. I think that was the case with J.J. McCarthy. I think he comes back down to earth this week. Give me the Giants +3, and that is going to move us on to the Chiefs taking on the Titans. The Titans, a 3.5-point underdog at home. The over-under sitting at 37.5. You have no Mahomes, no Rashee Rice, a completely unmotivated team that's used to playing for Super Bowls, now completely out of the playoffs. Quarterback by Gardner Minshew. All the numbers in this game, all the metrics are going to say that the Chiefs should be a touchdown favorite in this game. The Titans, one of the worst teams in the NFL, but this Chiefs team is not used to having nothing to play for. Any other team in the league, except for maybe the Raiders, would not be a road underdog in this spot against this Chiefs team with nothing to play for and Gardner Minshew playing quarterback. So I'm going to take what I perceive as a little bit of value here. This Titans team has been frisky. They hung with San Francisco for a little bit last week. They got their second win of the year the week before that against the Browns. So this is a team that's getting frisky down the stretch, and I think they could win this game. And I'm going to grab the field goal plus the hook here. Give me the Titans +3.5 against the Chiefs. That is going to move us on to the Packers taking on the Bears. The Bears, a 1.5-point underdog at home. The over/under sitting at 46.5. And I often think it is a mistake to take a team based on an injury to a single player, for a single player's injury to move an NFL line. But when it starts happening to multiple players, even if it's across different positions, it's not stack injuries where you have like your 6th-string wide receiver coming out. But the this case, the Packers, they have a star pass rusher, they have a star receiver, they have a star tight end. Your star tight end goes down, your star pass rusher goes down. All of a sudden, the things that make your team special start to go away, and I think that's really starting to happen with this Packers team here. And I think the wrong team is favored here. The Bears, a 1.5-point underdog at home. I'm not saying that Micah Parsons should be worth 3 to 4 points to a point spread, but when you lose Parsons, you lose Tucker Kraft, you have Christian Watson who may not play, you have injuries on the offensive line to Zach Tom, you have Dontavian Wicks who's also banged up, you have Josh Jacobs who has been banged up the last few weeks and has not looked anywhere near like himself, has lost some of that explosion that he had early in the year. And this Bears team really held their own with the Packers a couple of weeks ago. I was heavy on the Packers that week, but I think I was wrong, even though the Packers got the cover. I think I was wrong. And if you go back to that game, Christian Watson was a huge, huge part of the Packers offense in that game, and he may not play in this one. So Jordan Love, when targeting Christian Watson in that game, 22.3 yards per pass attempt. When targeting any other receiver on the field, 6.4 yards per pass attempt. So Christian Watson, a huge part of this Packers offense. Even if he's able to play, I still like the Bears here. If he misses this game, I absolutely love the Bears here. So give me the Bears plus 1.5 in this game. This is also where we're going to start the teaser of the week. We're going to tease the Bears up to plus 7.5, and we're going to pair that with the Lions taking on the Steelers, tease that down to Lions -1. It's a Lions team that is fighting for their playoff lives, a Steelers team that's not very good, doesn't really need the game. They kind of know that their season is going to be decided in week 18 against the Ravens. So Steelers with not much to play for, Lions with everything to play for, just have to win the game. Give me the Lions -1. I really thought about taking the Lions just minus the 7 points for all of those reasons, but it's much easier just to say, hey, you have to win the game, take the teaser points, keep it simple. So recapping my picks for this week, the teaser of the week, the Lions -1, Bears plus 7.5. We also like the Bears plus 1.5 against the Packers, taking the Titans plus 3.5 against the Chiefs, taking the Giants plus 3 against the Vikings. So a lot of road dogs on our card this week. Finally, taking the under 48.5 in Patriots Ravens and taking the Ravens -2.5. That is going to do it for my picks and the podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening, and I will see you guys next week.